Hello guys, welcome back to another video. It's this time of month again, where I'm going to be doing my potential OCC lineup breakdown, where I go over the decks I will probably be bringing, because I'm recording this before I actually submit my decks. And this will be uploaded after deck submission, but probably before OCC. Yeah, so this is the bracket for the September top 8. At the top you have No One versus Head, and then Cappuccino versus Vinny, a rematch. And, I mean, what they're gonna bring is not a huge influence on me. Like, if I'm facing one of them, I'm already in a money match position. I'm gonna focus on the three other players on my half of the bracket. However, that being said, I expect Head to bring, like, air self-damage, German control, air self-damage, Jagro, air Jagro, German control, one of those combinations of three decks, with air 100% being there. No one similar with potentially Heinz, like maybe Heinz Jagro, air, maybe Heinz self-damage air. Vinny and Cappuccino, I'm sure they're gonna have more spicier decks than just triple meta. Like, they're definitely gonna have some meta decks, but I would be shocked if it was just three meta decks in the same way No One had are gonna be. Then on the bottom half of the bracket where I am, you have first Darkness versus a Chinese player I don't recognize. I'm not entirely sure what that Chinese player brought. I suppose this is actually something I can check right now, because they did play in through the qualifiers. I can check what deck they brought in qualifiers. Now we have the difficulty of figuring out which player that is based on, oh, that's interesting. This guy is currently like top 10 on ladder. I guess he played last month. So it looks like it's this person. They brought US Italy ramp, Britain Italy aggro and self damage. Okay, so the US Italy is pretty interesting. Darkness, I honestly have no idea. He's a bit of a wild card. He got second on ladder playing exclusively the credit denial, which is now gone. And I don't think he's played ladder since that patch. Like, I haven't seen him play ladder since last month. So what he's actually going to bring on Saturday, I have no idea. I would be pretty surprised if air isn't there, but he's Darkness, so he could always just bring Britain US ramp. Yeah, I mean, I know he is aware what is meta, because what is meta hasn't changed a lot. I think credit denial is just gone, but self-damage is still popular, Jagro is still popular, air is still popular, and he knows all of those lists, so it's possible that he'll just bring that. His opponent, we just saw what he brought to qualifiers. I wouldn't be too surprised if he swapped out the US Italy for something. And then at the bottom you have myself versus Birdo, which, oh boy. This is a tough one. We've fought in the finals twice. And now we have to play in the first round of OCC, which I believe is a first. We've played in the first round of an Open before, but I don't think we've ever had to play in the first round of an OCC. Now, I suspect, I know he's been playing a lot of Heinz. I know he's been playing a lot of self-damage. I know he's been playing air for the World Championship qualifiers. And, I mean, those are three very good decks. I know he's not that much of a fan of Jagro. I know he thinks Jagro's kind of weak. So if I had to go with, like, if he was anywhere else in this bracket, what's he gonna bring? I would just say air, self-damage, Heinz. The problem is, he knows that I know that that is his three-deck lineup. So the question is he going to change it? Is he going to bring something completely random and unexpected, because I'm their first round opponent. And we've seen players do that before. If you remember correctly, the first video of these series I did was in July, where I played against Killswitch, and I knew he played aggro. I saw that he played aggro in qualifiers. We fought against each other, and he brought 3 completely random decks, none of which were aggro. Just because he was like, well, J-King knows what I'm going to play. I'm going to play something different. Now, I could see Birdo doing that with one deck. But the interesting thing about this format is I can just ban one deck. And I don't think Birdo's going to, like, hard target me. Like, he knows I like control. I don't think he's going to bring, like, the 3 heaviest ramp decks known to man just so he can beat me in the first round. Because he also recognizes that that's not a good way. Like, he's almost certainly just going to end 4th if that happens. Also, yeah, I mean, I think he's just trusts in himself and trusts in his own decks. So, I could see him dropping self-damage. We casted my King's Cup Invitational tournament last weekend, and we saw some interesting ways people were using to counter self-damage, and I did highlight that quite a bit, and have been playing some of that on ladder. And he is aware that I've been talking about that, so it's possible that he... So, I suspect he thinks I'm going to counter self-damage. Which means I think he's going to bring Heinz, I think he's going to bring Brittly Air. And then the question is, what is his third deck? Because against anyone else, I think he brings self-damage. But against me, he might bring a different third deck, specifically because he, like, wants to be slightly unexpected. Like, he wants to avoid any potential hard counters. And I've said before that I'm not a fan of hard countering people. Like, I've tried it in the past, and it's worked okay, but it often requires you to build decks that are just not going to work against anyone else. I think countering the event is perfectly fine. Like, if you think almost everyone at the event is going to have X deck, so you bring a lineup that targets X deck, I think that's perfectly reasonable. But if you're like, oh, I know this guy really likes ramp, so I'm just going to bring, like, triple turbo aggro to beat his ramp. It's like, okay, but what about when you play against your next opponent who's playing, like, mid-range? So, the current... My thought process so far, I've considered self-damage. I mean, I had quite a bit of success with it. For those who don't know, I won the last OCC and I won the last Open, going a total of 19-4 in tournament games. It would be 19-3, but my internet turned off halfway through a game. So, and it was a game that I almost certainly was going to win. So 19-4, technically, which is a really good win rate. And I did that by just bringing aggro. I brought, and meta, I brought Brittly Air, no, sorry, I brought Credit, Denial, well, that was a deck, Self-Damage, Jagro, and German-Italy Control. And I went 19-4. And I told myself, this is what happens when I bring meta decks. Like, meta decks are meta for a reason, just bring meta decks again, and I'm going to have a very high win rate in tournaments. However, I think Birdo's probably easily in the top 5 players in the game. And I kind of don't want to go into, like, essentially what is like a 50-50, maybe like a 55-45 matchup by just bringing meta into his meta. So, that is why I don't think I'm going to bring self-damage. I don't think I'm going to bring Brittly Air. I feel like it's too easy to counter. Like, people have figured out how to tech decks against Brittly Air. And it's still probably the #1 ladder deck, but I'm just not really feeling it for a tournament. Feigned Retreat with the new 7th Alpini. Just anyone playing 7th Alpini is going to beat you if you're playing Jagro. Which kind of sucks. So, the decks, going in order of most confident to least confident, that I'm going to bring. German-Italy Control. This is virtually... Okay, well, virtually is a bit of a strong word. This is a very similar list to the one I brought to the last Open. I'm running the Lurking Danger 5 countermeasure package with 2 Careless, 2 Decisive from the deep, triple Sudden Strike to deal with early units. And I'm putting back in the line for a day. I forget what I ran for the tournament, but I know I was down to 1 line for a day for a while. Self-damage is like rising in popularity by quite a bit, so back up to 2 lion for days. And this bad boy. 7th Alpini. This card is just so insane. It just shuts down decks. Like, even against, like, US mid-range with triple half-tracks, this card is still just insane. Because they half-track it, but they very rarely half-track it and then kill you. And if they don't kill you, you just replay it. And my 1 Gathering Storm is a bit of a novelty. Like, I'm basically the only one playing this card. I am still running the autocannon. So 3 tanks, 2 artillery, I think it's 4 fighters, and then a whole bunch of infantry. I've actually been considering taking out one of the 989s. This is something I just went on a very long walk and thought about these decks on that walk, and now have the chance to put some of them into practice. I've been thinking about Panzer L, like take out one 989 and put in a Panzer L. Just to be slightly better into air, like just slightly better at dealing with big things in the support line on the enemy side of the board. Also, you can just slam it on 3. And you can slam 989 on 3, but you can slam Panzer L on, like, I don't know, say you play autocannon on 3. On 4, you could do Panzer L and attack with the autocannon without having to worry about 989 not getting the buff. Also, just with the unit variety in this deck, is a pretty good chance that this is playing as a 6-5. And, like, 6-5 tank. Like, if you just had a T-34 that cost 2 less, would you not run it? Probably. And, like, obviously sometimes it has less attack, but, I mean, usually if it has less attack, it's early enough in the game that it doesn't need more attack. This is a little worrying against self-damage. For example, if they get, like, a 34th to the front line, I can't just do 989 Mare Nostrum attack. However, if they get a 34th to the front line and I don't have units on the board, I'm probably losing anyway. It's a more likely situation that they get a 34th to the front line and I have other units, so I'm playing Panzer L as a 4 or 5, potentially even 6 attack unit. So yeah, I'm feeling good about that. And then just, I'm feeling like I'm going after these mid-range and aggro decks, and it's like, is King Tiger necessary? Because I think it can be fine. But is it necessary? Like, there's certainly games against self-damage where you get up to 12 credits and you just slam King Tiger, and essentially win the game, if you have a Mare Nostrum in hand. And just for that reason, it's probably fine to keep it in the deck. But, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this deck. It has a very high success record on ladder. Then we go to this deck. Soviet Italy Control. Also has a very good track record on ladder. Slightly under the German one. And, again, this is a deck targeting air, self-damage. Those are like the 2 decks that I'm really going after. Heinz kind of gets thrown in there as well. Now, I tried doing a deck with no sickles. You can see that deck right here. It's called No Sickle. And for ladder, you are facing enough Jaggro, and in tournament, there's probably going to be enough Jaggro that you want some sickles. Also, it's still just a fine card. Like, people will trade their units down to 1 health if they know you don't run sickle. Also activates Naval Brigade. So, I'm down to 2 Red Dawns, 2 Bloody Sickles. Fiat is just pretty good against dealing with air. 845th. I considered throwing in a mobile defense, but if you see, I'm not running engineers and I'm not running Road to Berlin. This deck has a ridiculous amount of healing, but it does not have all the healing in the world, and it's missing some of the traditional healing cards, so I don't think I want to cut 845ths for mobile defenses, and Fiat, I think, is slightly better than mobile defense against air. And then this card right here, I'm running 2 copies of Hammer. Hammer is so good against self-damage. Like, it's one of the only cards, and it's certainly one of the cheapest cards that just answers a 34th as soon as it comes out. And this is a deck where you could play without playing your 30 or 845ths and Fiats in the beginning to avoid self-damage, getting off their Red Dawns and Sickles and whatnot. But if you just have a hammer in hand, you're perfectly fine. Then 252Ks, Cuban Cossacks is a card that I normally do not run in Soviet control, but because Zhukov is in the deck and I'm not running Engineers, I'm playing a 4/4, 0-up Blitz unit's pretty good. Of course, 2 Lion for Days because of self-damage. Yak 9, I really love this card with the new change, and also the new change to Wrath means this kills Wrath. It kills the 5th Rangers in their blitzed format. 4 is just such a really good number for attack in this game. And 5 is such a good number for health because 4 is such a good number for attack. And it draws a card. And because there's just a ludicrous amount of healing in this deck, 5-year plan, and 1 is usually enough that if you need to play it, you can play it. If you don't, you're usually going to win the game anyways and get through enough of your deck without ever drawing it. 1 Partisans and 1 Red Banner. I've considered taking out the Partisans altogether, just the 1 Red Banner is good, you're usually going to find use for it. But the threat of having Partisans in your deck in an open deckless format, your opponent always has to be aware about that. Like, for example, if they're moving a Sunrise Division to the front line, they can't play a second Sunrise Division in the support line without threat of you just Partisans trading off the 2 9/9s and then suddenly they're dead lost. So it's a good way to make your opponent space out threats. It's also hilarious. I had a game against Tang Tang where they made like a 6 attack bomber with Mary Nostrum. I did Partisans, killed one of the fighters with the bomber, healed 6, and then the bomber went back to hand. Lost all the buffs. So it's kind of niche. Also, just the reason I run it for ladder is if your opponent's playing Germany and they play Leopold, you just do Partisans, Red Banner, get a King Tiger guaranteed while hitting for 6 on an artillery, and you win the game. And, of course, as with the German deck, 3 copies of 7th Alpini. This is the core of the deck. This card is so strong. I love it so much. And, yeah, this is really all the late game. 272nd Winter Offensive for the board clear. ISU would be nice, but it's kind of hard to fit in. And with 7th Alpini, you just slam this card. Like, this card just gives you so much board control. Or your opponent sacks things into it, and you just heal. Obviously, the threat is Paris-C, but against Brittly Air, they only run 3 ground units, 2 Paris-Cs, and a Sexton, which means Hammer's actually not as bad into air as it used to be. So, yeah, I think this deck is quite good as well. And then we get to the question of, what do I bring for my 3rd deck? So, I've used Soviets, I've used Germany, which means I have Britain, Japan, or US. And I tried making a Japan-Italy deck work. I think I have a list that's like not half bad. It's a ton of fun. I'm just not confident enough in it to bring it to a tournament. Like, I think it's probably just not good enough for a tournament, to be completely honest. And I could bring Jaguar, but I've already said I feel like Jaguar's just super weak into any Italy control, and it doesn't have great matchups into air. Especially, I've seen a lot of people taking a lot more healing into air, more than usual. And against self-damage, it's really weak, especially if the self-damage player knows what they're doing, and Birdo's going to know what he's doing on self-damage. So, that crosses out Japan, and leaves me with Britain or US. And I could just bring Brittly Air. I mean, it's not terrible into self-damage. I feel like I couldn't play the mirror better, or as well as anyone else. But again, I just feel like every deck that has Germany is just going to be running like double or triple Flampanzers. People are starting to attack Jagro into air, and it's just a whole mess. You never know, your opponent could just hard target air. So if I'm not bringing air, is there any other Britain decks? We saw Britain-Poland in the King's Cup. That didn't work out terribly. But I'm not super confident in the deck. If I was going to bring a Britain control deck, it would be Britain-US. and there's not enough time for me to build a Britain-US deck that I'm confident on, assuming that one actually works. So that leaves me with US. Now, I tried making US-Italy ramp. I've seen some people play this deck. Most recently, Cappuccino won the King's Cup tournament with this deck, and it just resoundingly defeated self-damage every time it came into it. However, I've been playing this deck a lot on ladder, and maybe I'm doing something wrong. More likely, I'm just not getting, like, great hands. It doesn't feel great into self-damage, and it feels even worse into air. And Jaggro, it's very hit or miss. It's like, do you play a 9/9 Mare Nostrum on, like, turn 6? Or do you pass the first 4 turns and die on turn 4? It's very hit or miss against Jaggro. Like, if this deck goes second, you're so far behind against anything aggressive or tempo-based. Now, I really, really wanted to bring this list. It's called Giggle Fritz. One of my followers on Twitch recommended me this deck, and I've made a few changes to it, but the core part of the deck that I can attribute to him is the Fizzliers and Triple Entrapment in mid-range. This deck is a ton of fun, and it's some pretty good success on ladder, but the Fizzliers right now is just... I'm confident enough I'm not going to bring this deck that I'll just say it. Right now, on ladder, Fizzliers, in case you didn't know this, the gear will trigger underneath the card if it plays a countermeasure, and it won't trigger if it doesn't play countermeasure, which means your opponent can see whether or not there's a countermeasure in hand when you play a Fizzliers, if they're paying close attention to the board. And I don't know if Birdo knows this. I would actually suspect he doesn't know this. But it's just the fact that someone could tell him, he could already know this, he could figure it out mid-tournament. And it's like, am I confident playing a 3-cost card which actively just tells my opponent... Like, you run Fizzliers for the threat, and you run Fizzliers for the surprise. If your opponent knows if you have it or not, it's not a surprise. And then I did try out a US-Poland deck. It felt really slow, so I tried putting in War Machines and cutting the early game. That didn't really work out great. So, I've come to a US-German mid. I think it's not as good into self-damage as I would want it to be. However, I think it is good enough into air that it doesn't matter. So this is not the final list I'm going to go for, I don't think. I was testing out Naval Task Force. I actually think this card is very underrated. I was basically using this as... Some of the time it's just 2 costs, or 3 costs, give a unit +2/+3 in the front line. If you play that on a California, you win a lot of games. Or you can play it on like a 35T to kill a buffed plane. Which doesn't... I think it's pretty decent. Or if you're against self-damage, and they take the front line with anything, they're just constantly under threat that you play 2 cost return to hand on like a 6/6 or like a 34th, or even a Sunrise Division if you have enough tempo, a 456th, which has been buffed. So the card's good, it's just, am I really gonna bring Naval Task Force to an OCC, based on, like, just an idea I had 12 hours before deck submission? Probably not. So, taking those out, I was running Flampanzers in this deck. I was actually thinking that maybe I wanted to take out Flampanzers with Sudden Strikes, just because Sudden Strikes kill 840, or the 456ths, which have been buffed. It kills the Sunrises. Against air, it also throws in... You can throw in Eratos into the pool of cards this kills. And obviously the downside is it's not a unit. With Flampanzer, like if you go first, your opponent plays like Swordfish on 1, you pass on 2, and then you play Flampanzer on 3. You're threatening to deal 3 damage into the support line on 4, which is incredibly big. However, Sudden Strike is slightly cheaper. Sudden Strike has a wider range of units it hits. And if your opponent's not playing a 1-drop, Flampanzer's a little slow. Like 3 cost, 3/3 2-op tank. It needs to be hitting something. And against self-damage, I think Sudden Strike is going to increase the win rate in a pretty noticeable amount. I would really like to fit in another, like either a third Sun Strike or do 2 Sun Strikes, 1 Flame Panzer. However, you need the 3 half tracks, you need research, island hopping. Medical Battalion is a card which I've not run in a very long time, but now that the SSCD combo's gone, maybe it's worth putting it back. So, yeah, this is the deck where maybe I switch to US Italy, maybe I switch to US Poland, maybe I switch the lineup around. This US deck is the deck I'm the least sure about. But yeah, I think if I bring US German mid-range, then Soviet Italy control, German Italy control, I think I'll maximize my odds. I think I'll have a pretty decent time against people just bringing air, Jaguar, self-damage. Obviously, if there's control mirrors or someone brings ramp, someone brings something unexpected, things could get a little messy, but it's 3 decks that I'm very confident on. And that's all my thoughts on the decks, and I will now close off how I close off all of these videos by showing you a game on each deck to just explain my thoughts, how I play the decks. So if you want to play them yourself, you can see how I play them, or if you're following along with the OCC, which again is this Saturday, 9 a.m., 10 a.m. EST. I haven't played one of these tournaments in Canada in a while, so have to look into it. But yeah, this is my first deck, Germany. I actually saw Birdo is online right now, so I could theoretically queue into Birdo, see what he's practicing. Against Jaguar, I might even keep 7th Alpini. Like, the rest of this hand is just really good. Is that crazy? I mean, 7th Alpini is just such a win-the-game card. Like, if your opponent can't kill it with Sendai, or double surprise attack, you just win the game. And that's not a case of can remove it for a turn and then you immediately, like, get it back with Sendai. Like, if your opponent can't fully kill the card. Now, the question is this guy playing, like, some sort of Japan control, Japan resistance deck? Or did the game bug out, show this guy that I was holding up Careless Talk on 1, and now he is playing around it, and still actually playing Jaeger? Do I want to Heinkel? It gives me something to do. Like, if it's Japan France resistance, I should have enough healing that I don't have to, and with just Comet in my deck. Never last rights on 3. Unless you're playing like the world's most aggressive deck and you literally have nothing else to do. Just never play last rights on 3. Mary Nostrum or 7th Alpini. I mean, if it's Japan France, Mary Nostrum's no. Let's do this. I put myself into V range or take initiative range, which is honestly fine. This is why you never play last rights. The number of people I've seen playing Japan France resistance poorly lately is astonishing. I could just hipper this back to my own hand, which, like, I mean, to be completely honest, I think I'm fine with. Takes his credit away. Credit denial is... You get more use out of credit denial the sooner you play it. That's sad. Yeah, I did middle card, but I was going to middle card sort of regardless. Goshikin. Goshikin's actually kind of like a nutty counter to Careless. I mean, maybe just does Blade of the Samurai, if he's a particularly greedy version of this deck. And yeah, just heal 4, kill Osaka. It might not be Japan-France Resistance, it might just be like some very large unit grindy kind of Japan control deck, which is probably much worse. It's not a ton of threat for me to play this. Obviously if I hold up Careless Talk, Seiyun will stop that from activating. So I already know 1 Mare Nostrum's on the bottom of my deck. If I don't take it here, that guarantees 2 Mare Nostrums on the bottom of my deck. Also my card draw. However, there's a good chance this game is like gonna go to fatigue. Maybe I just want Gathering Storm. If he's not playing Japan-France Resistance, I do think I will want Gathering Storm. I could go for Yag Bomber for temper, but let's do this. Hope he sacks into Seiyun. The big difference between my Germany-Italy control and Germany-Italy control you probably see from everyone else is I'm not running the discard package. I was running Annihilations in the tournament, but I'd cut them out since they're not great into self-damage. It's just because, like, it's so greedy. Like, it's such a win more card. And it kind of works with the 7th Alpinis, because you just, like, slam 7th Alpinis and then wait for your opponent to come to you. And in that time you can play Wolf Packs, but I don't know. It's just so slow. I mean, I really don't want to hit JU into that. And I really don't want to play Root out, since it's going to hurt me much more than it hurts him. I could do Dechuma, kill the Seiyun. However, I feel like there's going to be better targets for Dechuma in his deck. I could just pass. Could do Dechuma face. It's probably worse. That unit is so annoying. I'm probably gonna regret this, but I need to get these countermeasures out of my hand to make room for Gathering Storm. Is it Bombing Raid? Yeah. I considered playing Detriment between them. But I figured if you had Bombing Raid, you might have buffed Bombing Raid. Like, do I care that much if Shiden, like if I do this and move up? I'm gonna play it here because of yeah, so this should trigger. I'm so bad at the game. The Saiyan stops my countermeasures from triggering. Why is this all countermeasures? Why doesn't this just say enemy countermeasures can't trigger? This card's bad. Lamau. Wait, is he gonna kill Saiyan first? I wonder, can you duplicate Saiyan with Rescue Mission? Okay. This is working out remarkably well for me. And healing another 5. So draw is currently 30-22, however, he has at least 6 kamikazes in his deck. Maybe 7, I forget how many he's played exactly at this point. I'm gonna draw. The sooner I find Comet, yeah. And I'm not planning on getting any more than 1 draw out of this, which is why I played it here rather than to the right. I'm also still unconvinced that this guy doesn't play Sendai's. High-end move to the front line. Is he playing expansion? Huh. Might have to sudden strike my own guy here. Oh wait, of course I can't. I could root out. I could just go for the Marinostrum on my own Comet. However, that guarantees I'm not healing past 29. And like 29 should be a health total where I have nothing to worry about. But you know, I'll never really know against this guy. Probably the decisive. I'll do something like this. If he, like if I mill a card, I mill a card. Alright. Research is a pretty good one. Sad to see it go. If he's Britain, ally, I'll actually move this up just to make it more likely he attacks face. Like if he's running high ends, he's already down Shiden, but he might Kika face. Maybe second high end phase. I mean, I just eventually win. He does need to play cards. Yeah, I think now is probably the time to play Root Out. I really don't want to have to attack Comet into Sisei. I'd rather put him on a 2-turn clock. And if I'm not attacking Sisei, it means Detrim is dead anyways. I mean, just slamming King Tiger there is certainly tempting, but Japan does have To the Last Man. Cool. Comet is a broken card. Hashtag nerf Comet. This is why people don't play Japan Control. Yeah, actually, as you can see, I'm actually 9th. And Birdo's no longer online. So, no chance that we queue into Birdo, show off what we're playing. Game 2 is going to be the Soviet Italy control deck. This one I feel like is maybe even a little stronger into... I think it's definitely the strongest into self-damage. Maybe slightly weaker into air than the German one. However, it's also pretty good into just about anything. Britain... It's probably pretty safe to assume. Keeping Hammer is really annoying, because if it's anything other than Brit Air, Hammer is one of the best cards in my deck, but if it is Brit Air, Hammer is one of the worst cards in my deck. I think I'd just rather full mulligan for Red Dons, since Red Dons are good at red against just about everything. Oh boy. Top decking and Arakan. Oh my goodness. I think it was my last... I forget if it was on stream or a video where I was playing Soviets and just like essentially top deck triple sickle or something. I mean, honestly, like, Britain, France with mobilization is always worth a consideration. That deck's just so crazy. Like, I could just move up and create a 4-drop. The problem is, if there's the 4-drop bomber, which if I get, I kind of just lose the game immediately. I also have partisans in hand. Could just hammer one of them now, but it might be secret ops. I think just getting rid of one of these guys now. And the 73rd is definitely scarier than the Kiefer. Being I can sickle. Alternatively, I can just move up to the front line. That's bad. That is very bad, actually. Because that just messes up my curve a lot. Yeah. Okay. Sickle T60 turn. 52k is a very good pickup. This is not great. I do have just partisans to return 73rd to hand. I can also kill the honey. Like, hit here, kill the honey. Kind of like that play. Because next turn I can partisans the 73rd and then also hit it into anything I want. Oh, virtually anything. Second honey. If he moves up Kiefer, I'm just farming him. I mean, I'm kind of farming him either way. Actually, just gonna go for this play. Floating 4 credits, it's too easily doubting or ultra or 845th, not 845th, secret ops. Seventh Alpini is dead to Wrath. He floated exactly 4 again, and it's the 2 cards in hand again. Um, I mean, I think I want to marry now just to trigger the Ultra. Yeah, it was Ultra. So I'm dead to retreat regardless. Pota's second Kiefer. Ow. Okay, I've been hit in the face by Kiefer 6 times. Which actually, like, might work out, because that might be a net positive. Actually. If he double trades, I think I can clear with, clear and not die with, Winter Offensive. Dang it. Line for a Day is a great draw. I mean, I kind of just essentially have to assume he does not have secret ops. Still dead to Avery. Shelling's fine. This could always be doubting, but, I mean, if it's doubting, screw me, I guess. Why did Partisans spawn it here? Yeah, and I think this game's really highlighting the strength of 7th Alpini. It's just like a, if you can't kill it, you win the game card. Or, not even can't kill it, like if you can't retreat it, you need to actively remove it. I am worried about moving to the front line because of airdrop. So I'm actually going to move both of these to the front line. And I'm moving things to the front line over Detrima just because I want to be able to heal off of 7th next turn. And more importantly, threaten the most damage possible to get him out of Commonwealth range in case he does, like, honey research or something. Okay, had the airdrop read. That is really big. Yeah, that's just game over. I was gonna kill the honey, kill the 703rd, and play KV probably. Close one, but still took it. Sort of off the back of 7th Alpini there. 25-22. And last but not least, let's play this US deck. Oops, this is collection. Here we go. This is the deck that I'm like the least confident in. Just not even necessarily least confident in the deck. I just can't bring the version I really want to with the entrapments because of the Fizzlier's bug. And I'm less comfortable. Like, I have to make more risks about what I think is going to be good rather than what I've tested and know is good. With these Californias, the Medical Battalion, double We Can Do It. I've been running no We Can Do It's basically up until today. Bank. If this is just Britain, Italy, Air, do I keep strap bombing? Like, I'm going second. Do I ever just keep this? Like, I don't need one drops, especially against air. Combat engineers is really all you're looking for. And if it's anything other than air, maybe if it's Britain, Poland, I'm not that favored. Honeys, it's not air. That's annoying. Could do 35T here. Could have done Warble move up. I'm gonna go for the triple 32nd just to get as many units out of my hand as possible. And out of hand, I mean out of deck. Am I gonna get supply shortaged? Oh boy, is it Southern Plan into shelling? Gonna just do this. Force him to have force him to have the shelling, force him to have the supply shortage. Blackwatch, I only have 2 orders in hand. And I can kill it. This deck just does not die. People are still looking for ways to play it. That's annoying. It actually does keep it alive, too. Okay, Carper bombing. Interesting choice. I mean, honestly, just like playing research is worth a thought. I'm just gonna slam Cali though. It's pretty difficult for him to deal with. He might overexhaust resources into it. Or if he can just pin it, he might not play around and playing second Cali. Interesting. Carpet and Monsoon. It's getting a lot of healing off. If I could draw combat engineers, I can kill Honey. That ain't it. I think I just need to go for depth charges. Like, I can strap bomb in, which keeps him off of Commonwealth for a bit, kills Honey, kills any more Crusaders or Honeys he might play out. His Majesty's Chosen. Oh. Okay, well, he's going up to 9 cards. I guess I'm just in Commonwealth range. I can do Warble hit face. He heals to 30 though. I can't do Warble and 35T both hit face. I can't half track Honey. I could just do Cali to the front line. This is just the play I like the best. If he has Commonwealth, he has Commonwealth. I feel like Honey just shouldn't draw off of cards you mill. Doesn't have Commonwealth. He went up to 20 in hand without Commonwealth. Wellington gets pinned, and he's walking into a very large strap bombing. Unfortunately, I won't be able to drop him below 30 with the strap bombing here. Okay, yeah, that's not happening. Yeah, this is still fine. And by still fine, I of course mean just like, if Commonwealth's at the bottom of his deck, it's at the bottom of his deck. If it's not at the bottom of his deck, I lose. He has 2 turns to draw it as well. Wait, he had it in hand. He just didn't play it last turn. Did he not think he was at 12? Alright, well, we're gonna play another. That was highly disappointing, and my opponent's kind of an idiot. My best guess is he either didn't recognize he was at 30 because he didn't think Honey would heal on the overdraw, or he forgot he put himself up to 12 with Southern Plan. Yeah, I mean, this deck came back in the meta specifically because that deck left the meta, but not for everybody, I suppose. Britain going second again. Keeping half tracks probably a bit unnecessary here. Would rather see like a 35T. Maybe a Whirlwind. If this is a second credit denial, I swear. Passes on 1. We'll do 32nd. They could get Albacord. Oh, that is very, very bad. Okay. Well, I don't think there's a way to set up killing that in 2 turns. Also not really a way to set up killing a Raft Ground Crew. There's the Albacore. I think my best guess is just getting Red Devils up. I mean, maybe he just, maybe he runs Afro Anson just because he runs Afro Anson. He likes the 1/4 main with like a naval support deck. Honestly, this would be a pretty funny naval support turn. Kitty Hawk. Please hit the... Nope. Man, I have some unfortunate luck with PIR. Literally either of the other two. Also, this guy did not play his units correctly for a close air support. I understand forgetting, like, putting Italian units in the middle, or, for example, forgetting where units are going to come out of Sendai, something like that. How do you just, like, have 2 units on the left and then play your 3rd unit on the right? There's the Grand Crew. I could just retreat it. Thank goodness. That's a great draw. I'm worried about playing the 32nd exclusively because it might get buffed. And, I mean, with... Again, hits the wrong target. With Strat Bombing looking like a pretty possible turn next turn, and if not, Island Hopping, attacking, I don't really want an infantry in my support line. So I'm actually going to float the credit. I mean, I guess this kind of worked out with the PIR hitting itself. Please hit the... Oh my goodness! Can you imagine if this was a 4-6 Red Devils or a 6-6 Red Devils? Things would be so much nicer right now. If he spends 2 credits trading with PIR and then just like slams the 5-5, I think we take the opportunity to go free tempo. Like island hopping, hit face twice to trigger at half track. Oh. Pass. Why would you pass there? I could do Hellcat kill it. I could just take this opportunity to play island hopping, develop research. I think I prefer that. Also could have considered going for a depth charges there again. But I might need nukes to close this out potentially. Probably not with double half track and Hellcat. This guy's playing really slowly, which, I mean, I respect your right to play slowly, but I'm trying to record a video here, guy. So maybe he just doesn't run close air support. It does seem somewhat unbelievable that someone could be that bad. Turn that to hand for sure. Trading and Skytrain doesn't seem terrible. Like, that's a really good one, actually. Most Spitfire decks I've seen are Italy ally. Carpet bombing only kills 3 units, I guess. But it's his whole turn. And I mean, I'm definitely playing Medical Battalion. It's really difficult to not attack here. Of course it hits the Medical Battalion. Oh my goodness, dude. Airdrop? I'm lost. So that can go there. I feel like just getting the damage on is fine. I mean, I feel like against Spitfire, you just take any free kill you can get. Like, you need to tempo them out. But RAF ground crews are RAF ground crews. If you let your opponent get 2 of these on the board, they're just gonna slam like 2 8/8s. I mean, he's down shelling, carpet bombing. Monty would be really good for him there. If he does like Monty 2-5-5 shelling or 2-5-5 Spitfires to set up into like a carpet bombing. Or he goes offline. Cool. Of course, rope. We got a roper in the last game. He is... Is he just dead here? No. I guess I had slightly better chances if I strategic bombing first. I mean, yeah, it does not really matter. I don't think he's coming back. But, yeah, it's a win on all three of the decks that I'm probably going to bring. I think I'm, like, the most likely to actually bring these ones out of every time I've said these are the decks I'm probably going to bring. But, yeah, I know I talked a lot about what Birdo's bringing, but I'm not trying to specifically hard counter him. I just think if he is bringing what I think he's going to bring, I think most people are going to be bringing that as well. Other +5. 2-5, 13. Good place to end off the video. And yeah, that's going to be it for me. If you see this video within the first couple of days it comes out, remember to tune into OCC on Saturday. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Yeah, do that stuff. YouTube things. See you guys.